Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and have a good day everybody. So today Cikgu Ruth will continue with chapter 4 transport in plant. So hopefully all of you already read about this topic. So in this topic there are 4 subtopics. So the first one is we want to learn about the vascular tissue. Second, transport of water and mineral salt. The third one is translocation. And the last one is phytoremediation. So now we go to the first one. Okay, vascular tissue. Alright, you have learned about transport in human and animal in Form 4. So today we continue with the transport in plant. So plants are multicellular organisms which are formed from cells that need water and nutrients. So the large and tall size of the plant creates a total surface area that is insufficient for the plant to absorb its basic needs from the surrounding. In order to overcome this problem, plants have a vascular tissue to transport water, mineral salt and nutrients to all the cells. So vascular tissue, there are two types of vascular tissue, which is xylem and phloem. So xylem is used to transport water and mineral salt absorbed by the root to the stem and leaf. While phloem is functioned to transport organic compounds which are synthesized by the leaf through photosynthesis to the stem and roots. Okay, there are two types of plant. One we call as vascular plant. So vascular plant is the plant which have a transport system, which is it have a xylem and phloem. For example, the Eudicot plant and also monocotyledon plant. Okay, so they have a xylem and phloem. So this plant we call vascular plant. Another one is non-vascular plant. Non-vascular plants such as algae and moss do not have any transport system because this plant is very simple process. Have a simple process. Okay, we go to the next one. Structural adaptation of xylem vessel and trachea to transport water and mineral salt. Okay, before this, we said that the xylem is used to transport water and mineral salt. But another function of the xylem is also to provide mechanical support to the plant. Okay. So the first one, the characteristic of xylem vessel. So C1, that means characteristic number 1. So the characteristic of the xylem consists of dead cell at maturity which do not have cytoplasm. And then the second characteristic of xylem, these cells are arranged longitudinally from end to end. That means it have a continuous tube. So this function is to form a continuous tube to allow water flow from the roots to the leaf. Okay? And then the third characteristic of the xylem have the wall which is uneven lignin thickening. So the wall of the xylem, they have a lignin. But the lignin is uneven thickening. Okay, so the function is to give strength to the xylem vessel to prevent from collapsing due to the tension force and pressure change when water moves through it. Okay. Alright, other than that, xylem also have a tracheate vessel. Okay, this is the picture of tracheate. Okay, picture of tracheate, and then this is the picture of xylem vessel. Okay, so the tracheate have the cell wall which is lignin thickening and pit. Okay, it have a pit, a small pores, okay, and have a lignin. So this is to the function of the lignin in the tracheate is to allow water movement to adjacent cell. That's why tracheate have a pit. So the water will move side by side. Not only to the upward, but also the water will move side by side. Okay. Alright, so now we go to the next one. Structural adaptation of sieve tube and companion cell to transport organic substance. So this is a phloem. Alright, this is a xylem, companion cell, and phloem. So phloem, as you know, is used to transport and distribute organic compounds such as sucrose, amino acid, and plant hormone to all parts of the plant. So, phloem is a living cell because it has a cytoplasm. So, the xylem is a dead cell, but the phloem is the living cell. Okay, this is the structure of phloem. Alright. Okay, so phloem also have a sieve tube. Okay, so what is the characteristic of the sieve tube? There are three characteristics of the sieve tube. Okay, the first one, sieve tube do not have nuclei, ribosome or vacuole. So this is to allow the sucrose molecule to pass through sieve tube easily. That's why the sieve tube do not have nuclei, ribosome or vacuole. Okay. The second characteristic of the sieve tube, on both ends of the sieve tube, there is a sieve plate that has a pore. As you can see the picture here. Okay. This shows the sieve plate which is have a pores. So the function of the sieve tube is to allow the sieve plate is to allow the organic compound to flow from one sieve tube to the next. Alright, and then the third characteristic of the sieve tube, it have a component cell which is contain mitochondria. As we know, mitochondria is the organelle used in the cellular respiration to produce the energy. So, mitochondria to provide energy in form of ATP to transport sucrose from leaf to the sieve tube through active transport. That means the transportation of the sucrose is used active transport. That's why it need more energy. So when it need more energy, so it will must have more mitochondria. Okay, are you ready to learn about transport water and mineral salt? Okay, before that, actually water is very important for plant to grow because water help to move mineral salt from the soil to the stem. And then the second, water is also help in giving turgidity to plant cells so that the plant will remain fresh. Okay, so the movement of water from soil to leaf is assisted by a three process which is transpirational pull, capillary action and root pressure. Okay, transpirational pull is occur in leaf which is produced when water that is evaporated from the stoma pull the water from the leaf. Okay, that one is the transpirational pull. Alright, and then the second one is capillary action. Okay, the continuous upward movement of water through the xylem vessel in the stem can be attributed to capillarity. Capillarity or capillary action is the result of the cohesive and adhesive force which enable the water to enter and move along the very narrow column in the xylem. Okay, so the water molecule adhere one another by cohesive force, or we call it have a cohesion force. While the water molecule adhere to the wall of the xylem vessel, we call as an adhesive force or adhesion force. Okay, because of the adhesion and cohesion force of the water molecule, which move the water upward in the stem against the gravity. So this will make the water move along the narrow xylem vessel. Okay, and then root pressure. Actually, root pressure is occur at root, which is water move from the soil water into the xylem vessel of the root via the osmosis. Alright, how does the water move from the soil to the xylem vessel? Okay, first of all, what happened? Okay, as you can see here, this is the structure of the root hair cell and also root. Okay, so this is the vacuum of the root hair cell, soil water, okay, and then epidermis, cortex, endodermis, okay, pericycle, and xylem. Okay, we start with the first one at the root hair cell. So the water potential in the root hair cell is lower compared to water in the soil. This is because of mineral salts are actively pumped by the root hair cell into the vacuole. So because of this, it will make the root hair cell become hypertonic compared to the soil water. So it will cause the cell shape of the root hair has lower water potential compared to the soil. So water from the soil will diffuse into the root hair cell and epidermal cell via the osmosis. Okay, so now the water will diffuse into the root hair cell by osmosis. So the high water potential in the root hair cell causes the water to diffuse from the root hair cell into the cortex via the osmosis. Alright, this condition causes the osmosis to continuously occur throughout the cortex, endodermis, and pericycle cell. So this will cause the root pressure to push water into the xylem vessel of the root and then into the xylem vessel of the stem. This is how the root pressure occurs. Okay, the next one, what happens after the root pressure? So the water will be transported into the stem. Okay, for the tall plant, root pressure cannot transport water to the leaf, especially the shoot, because of gravity. So, the movement of water molecule in the xylem vessel is helped by the capillary action of xylem, produced by adhesion and cohesion force, and also transpirational pull. Okay, so before this, I'm already explained to you about what is adhesion and cohesion. So, adhesion is the water molecule adhere to the wall of xylem, while cohesion is the water molecule adhere to one another, right? Okay, so adhesion and cohesion force will produce a pulling force which continuously move water in the xylem vessel. As you can see, this is the picture how the water transport in the xylem vessel in stem, helping by the cohesion and adhesion force. Okay. Alright, and then lastly, so now when the water moves into the leaf, what will happen? So when the transpirational process happens, water will diffuse out as water vapor from the space between the cell to the surrounding through open stoma. So the spongy mesophyll cell will lose water and they have low water potential because all the water will diffuse out. Okay? So now spongy mesophyll cell become low water potential toward adjacent cell. Adjacent cell means neighboring cell. Okay, neighboring cell of the spongy mesophyll. So the water molecule diffuse from neighboring cell via the spongy mesophyll cell by osmosis. So this movement will produce a force called the transpirational pull that pull water molecule in the xylem vessel of the leaf to the outside of the leaf. So there are three process. The first one, root pressure. Second is capillary action. And the third one is the transpirational pull. So this process will make the water continuously flow in the plant. Okay, do you know what is guttation? As we can see, this is a picture of guttation, or we call as embun. Alright, embun di pagi hari. Alright? Okay, guttation. Guttation is a secretion of water droplets through a special structure at the end of the leaf vein without involving the stomata, caused by the high root pressure. So guttation is occur at night. Okay, so it occur at night. That means stomata is closed because no light intensity. So from the root pressure, we make the guttation happen. So guttation occur when the root pressure and the rate of transpiration is low. So occur at night and early morning when the air humidity is high and the surrounding temperature is low. So the root pressure will push water to the leaf and stem of the plant. So the guttation will happen. Okay, this is a comparison between guttation and transpiration. Okay, actually, they have two similarities between guttation and transpiration. Both processes occur through the leaf, and then both processes cause permanent water loss from the plant. Okay, there are 6 differences between guttation and transpiration. The first one, the guttation happens at night and early morning, while transpiration happens on hot and windy day. Right? And then the second one, guttation only happens in herbaceous plant. That means non-woody plant. While transpiration happens in all plant. That means herbaceous plant, non-woody plant, woody plant. So all the plant must undergo transpiration. The third one, for guttation, water released in the form of water droplet. But in transpiration, the water released as a water vapor. Okay, and then number 4, guttation, water is released through a special structure at the end of the leaf vein. But in transpiration, the water released through the stomata, opening and closing of the stomata. And then number 5, guttation happens when the root pressure is high, but transpiration controlled by stomata opening and closing. And then the last one, guttation release water that is rich in mineral, but for the transpiration, it release a pure water. This is a similarities and differences between guttation and transpiration. Okay, so what happened? What happened if the guttation do not undergo? The first one, root pressure cannot be maintained. Okay, the root pressure cannot be maintained. The second one, water absorption by root hair cell is disrupted in the surrounding with high relative humidity. And then number 3, the plant waste substance cannot be eliminated. Okay, and then the last one, the leaf vein pressure become high and cause the leaf vein to burst because of the root pressure. So this will lead to the leaf be exposed to pathogen and eventually fall. Okay, these are 4 effects if the guttation is not occur. Okay, for the transpiration, there are 5 effects towards plant if the transpiration is not occur. The first one, the optimum temperature of plant cannot be maintained. So when the temperature cannot be maintained, that means the temperature will increase. Increasing in temperature can make the enzyme denatured, photosynthetic enzyme denatured, and also disrupt biochemical process such as photosynthesis and respiration. So the plant cannot undergo photosynthesis and respiration. And then the third one, the mineral salt such as potassium ion cannot be transported from the root to the leaf for the photosynthesis. Water transport throughout the plant will be disrupted and causing the plant to wilt. And when this transpiration can undergo for the long term, it will make the plant die. Okay, so there are 5 effects if the transpiration not occur. Effect towards the plant. Okay, now we go to the translocation. When we say translocation is the process of transporting organic substance such as sucrose, amino acid, hormone in the phloem from the leaf to other part of the plant, such as root and stem. So translocation is the transport of photosynthesis product, okay, and also hormone. So what is the importance of translocation in plant? First, transporting photosynthetic product from the leaf to the other part of the plant for growth and respiration, such as root, fruit, tip of shoots, or developing flower. And then the second, to transport excess photosynthetic product to other part of the plant, such as rhizome, tuber, and bark. Okay, this is a two necessity or important of translocation in plant. So translocation is used phloem. So remember that phloem. Okay, this is the pathway of the translocation in plant. Translocation is come from the Greek word trans means closing, locus means site or place. Okay, so it's starting from the leaf. So sucrose is the product of from the photosynthesis. So sucrose is actively transported into the sieve tube. And then the transport of the sucrose into the sieve tube through the component cell from the leaf cell will reduce the water potential in the sieve tube. This will cause water to diffuse from the xylem into the sieve tube by osmosis. So now when the water enter into the sieve tube, so it will increase the hydrostatic pressure in the sieve tube. So the increasing of the hydrostatic pressure will cause the phloem sap to be pushed along the sieve tube to other organ of the plant. So the phloem sap is transported from the sieve tube to other parts such as stem, root, shoot, fruit, and tuber by active transport. So now the high water potential in the phloem will causes the water to diffuse in order for it to return into the xylem by osmosis. So transpirational pull along water along the xylem vessel again the direction of gravitational pull. So this is the pathway of translocation in plant. Hopefully you will understand about the translocation. Okay. The environment and human health can be affected if wastewater from domestic, agriculture, breeding and industrial activity is not treated. So the water supply will be filled with heavy metal and pollutant. The need of management and wastewater treatment is important in order to overcome the lack of clean water. Issues of water pollution and increasing cost of water treatment. To overcome this problem, phytoremediation method is one of the alternatives in wastewater treatment by eliminating heavy metals and also trapping harmful nutrients and microorganisms. So phytoremediation treatment uses aquatic plants that can absorb heavy metal and nutrients contained in wastewater. Okay, so photoremediation is one of the treatment method which use plant for the purpose of the degradation, extraction or elimination of pollute substance from soil and water. So photoremediation is very important because this is one of alternative in wastewater treatment by eliminating heavy metal and also trapping harmful nutrients and microorganisms. So plant is important not only to produce food to us but also can be used to give a treatment to give the treatment such as water treatment. Okay, so in photoremediation, it uses aquatic plant, which is this aquatic plant able to absorb heavy metal and nutrient in the wastewater. The example of plant that can be used such as Eichonia crassipes, which is water zeante, which has a long root which can accumulate heavy metals such as copper and lead in water. Okay, and then the next one, we can use a sunflower. Alright, sunflower is an ornamental plant. So sunflowers were also used for remediation of soil polluted by explosion of nuclear plant in Chernobyl, Russia. Okay. So sunflower act as a hyperaccumulator which can eliminate heavy metal such as zinc, chromium, copper, lead and nickel, and also radioactive substances such as caesium and strontium. Okay. Okay, the next plant they're able to use in the photoremediation, okay, which is Pistia stratiotus, or water lettuce plant, or we call pokok kiambang. Okay, so this plant able to use to treat the wastewater in the waste plant, which is Pistia stratiotus has a fast growth rate and able to accumulate heavy metal and absorb nutrients in the waste plant. And then the next one is water spinach or kangkong. Okay, so kangkong also can be used in phytoremediation. Okay, so the root of the groundwater spinach are able to absorb mercury from the soil, whereas the root of river water spinach are able to absorb heavy metals such as cadmium from the water. So this is the example, three example of the plant they able to use in phytoremediation. Actually, they have a lot of plant able to become a phytoremediation. So you can search in the Google, so you can know what is the another example of the plant they able to use in phytoremediation. Okay, so we already finished for chapter 4, right? So that's all for today. So thank you very much. So we will continue our lesson for the next topic, which is chapter 5. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you very much. Enjoy your PDPR. Okay, stay at home and stay safe, everybody. Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. Okay, bye. See you soon, everybody. Thank you.